Okay. Hello, Facebook. This is Debby Enoe, Teacher Success Coach, with another I cannot count, another two female educators from around the world. I'll just get them to introduce themselves. And today's topic would be walking in teams. How do you walk in teams while teaching in the virtual space? Okay, Janine?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Well, it's morning over here in Lodi, California, and I am currently teaching a second and third grade special day class. I am an education specialist with a master's degree in teaching special education. I'm currently working on my doctoral degree in administrative leadership so that I can open a school here in California. And I am currently on summer vacation, although I am doing the summer extended school program where I continue to help my same set of students. I have 12 students, second and third grade, all with mild to moderate special needs.
Thank you. Anne?
Thank you very much, Debbie. My name is Anne. I am also an educationist. I am a teacher. I teach from what we call year 3 all the way to Key Stage 3, specifically in the areas of history. I have a bachelor's of education in from the Kenyan universities and a master's in international relations.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, ladies. Right, as I said earlier on, the topic we'll be looking at is teams. When I say teams, I mean in terms of how do you work in teams while actually teaching online? Because we know when we actually work in teams and we have meetings in the, when we're in the building, it's challenging by itself. So I could imagine how much more challenging it is right now when you're actually having to Zoom on all the time. So can you actually, Jenny, can you tell us how you actually deal with that in terms of your lesson planning, in terms of brainstorming ideas? So how do you do that now that you actually have to, you're actually online? How are you doing that? And what are the challenges?
Well, thank you for asking that because it is an incredible challenge. In one day of any given week that we've been participating in this remote learning, I will get up at 7 a.m., get myself ready, and then take care of my children's needs. I have 3 children. And then I'm on Zoom meetings. I have a meeting with the general education teachers here in the United States. We have to offer that same grade level curriculum to our students with special needs. So I have to be in sync with what they're doing for their remote learning and what they're offering as far as teaching the standards. Then after that hour-long meeting, I'll have another meeting with just the special education teachers because we have to figure out how we can meet all of the needs online while we are at the stay-at-home order is in place with the virus. And then after that, it's meeting with my students on Zoom. So in one given day of the regular week, I could be 5 hours on video conferencing, which is extremely draining, definitely, when I'm so used to having those connections in person. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And how are you, how do you actually do that in terms of lesson planning, brainstorming ideas, things like that?
Okay, thank you very much. I must say that remote learning, here we are calling it virtual learning, has actually enhanced the team spirit, as it were. And I think being far away has made us closer. And what we have done is in the morning, we're teaching actively. So in the morning, we will hold a brief from around 7:45. Where the head teacher gives us just an outline of announcements to be made, events coming up in the week, like if it's environmental week, or we are doing general quiz or something on service learning. And the school is divided into prep and secondary because of the different needs. That way, if you're asking in terms of brainstorming and planning and how remote learning or virtual learning has affected, the meetings are now shorter. They are brief, to the point. Okay, and so and then we disperse to start our classes. Again, in terms of planning, what we have done is if there are two of us teaching Key Stage 2 or Year 6 or Year 5, there is no need for both of us to plan differently, especially since it's remote learning now. It's visual. And keeping in mind that our young learners are being supported by their parents, it's become easier for teachers now to agree, let's plan this lesson together. This is how we're going to deliver it. Secondly, we've introduced what is called team teaching. In case I have a power failure or I'm unable to make it in class, I am automatically inviting one of my fellow teachers who can co-host and continue with the lesson without any interruption. So I must say it's brought out new aspects of what a team is, the strength of a team, and how a team can make even a challenging task, be achieved, seamlessly. Yes, executed seamlessly.
That's fantastic, because it actually demonstrates that for you guys, and you guys actually benefit from, this online team meeting, because your meeting is shorter. Because we all know how long these meetings are. When we actually have team meetings, you actually falling asleep or you're writing each other notes, etc., because it is so boring. And for you, it actually condensed the meeting too.
Yes.
This actually demonstrates how unnecessary your long meetings were.
Mm-hmm. They weren't always long. They were very also precise, but I can assure you they've become even more concise.
Wow. And how different do you think the meetings are now in terms of online meeting to meeting in the classroom? So, let's say not so much in the classroom, when you actually have your team meeting, how different it is when you have your team meeting in the building to when you're having your team meeting online. What's the major differences you've noticed? Because for me, one of the issues are, because you're not able to see your colleague, on the physical basis, for me, I'm constantly looking at a computer screen, right? Because I have various other meetings, and I find that although it is quick sometimes, one of the challenges, you cannot see the interaction, because when we actually on Zoom, because there's sometimes a delay, the time you see that reaction, it's a new reaction come forward. So on those bases, it's quite challenging actually looking at the screen all the time, not being able to clearly identify people's body language. So that's some of the challenges that I have experienced in terms of the being in the building, the physical meeting in the building. What have been your challenges?
Well, I must say we were very well prepared. Yes, my country went into a semi-lockdown on March 14th. And that's when the country announced its first COVID case. And within 3 days, the schools had been closed. But for us, we had been preparing for the last 2 weeks before that date. So we had gone through the etiquette of virtual learning, the etiquette of using Zoom. And so I must say that we were very well prepared. As such, even in terms of body language, how to conduct the class and the meeting, even with the students, that had already been covered. And we even had a manual on how to conduct our classes and have meetings, even talk to parents on Zoom. So we were very well prepared.
Okay, the question is, how is it that you guys were prepared 2 weeks before everybody else?
Because my management believes that the best way to succeed is to plan. Wow. And you plan for success. Lack of just burying your head in the sand does not augur well. It was gonna come one way or the other. And so we were ready. The students were ready. The Google Classrooms had been created. So even that enhances more of the team. The students now know I send one piece of work, I post it, everybody gets it, let's do it. and that has helped a lot. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Janine, how, in
Yeah.
terms of the physical classroom and the online, the physical meeting and the online meeting, what are the challenges and how you actually see that?
Well, in regards to meeting with colleagues, I will agree that having the Zoom meetings has shortened our meeting time. We're more precise and to the point because we want to get back to what we are doing with actually supporting students, or even at home with our own children, getting back to what is important. So I do appreciate the evolvement of our virtual time together in regards to having to stay a whole hour in our contract time on campus to show that we had met and fulfill that requirement. I believe that now we're able to multitask a little bit more during that time. And then in regards to students, with my students having special needs, it is a lot of in-person, small group or one-on-one support. So I believe the most challenging part, and something that I've discovered, is the support for parents. They know how to help their children at home with non-academic things, but then when you add the academic part to their day and they're home all day, and some of them not understanding why they're home, as a neurotypical child might understand about the coronavirus and why we are having to stay home during this time and why the schools are closed. So the parents of my students have had some challenges, and I've had to think very creatively, how can I help that parent replicate what we do in the classroom and still give them that at home? And what we found is we have to completely create something new. And to me, I love creating new things. That's why I love being an educator, because I like to think outside of the box and create something new. And that might be a breakthrough for that student to really help them. So I believe that I've been able to help more on those bonds being created between the parents and the children at home. They're learning how does their child learn? How do they actually learn with the academic materials that we're providing and that support? So we've all made growth, and I do feel like it has been more positive than challenging. And I am eager to be able to work with them in person again. I do miss that. The last day of school is very hard not to be able to physically hand them their certificates of completion and talk about their growth that they've made for the school year. And having to do that virtually was definitely a lot different. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. What support are you receiving from your colleagues or from the head of the school or from the principal? The fact that you guys are now online, what support are they giving you guys, or what support have they given you, it's like a moral thing in terms of to enhance what you do, to make you feel that it is okay, because for a lot of educators, except for Anne, they were well prepared, some of us were just thrown into it and you just have to get on with it. So in terms of, the support, making you think that it is okay, because it's such a different thing. Although we used to use Teams, while you're actually doing different work with the students, now every single thing is online. So what are the support have you got, Anne?
Okay, one of the what has happened is that because of the need for differentiation has become even clearer now that we are doing virtual learning. And so one of the ways that we have supported each other as colleagues is, if I'm handling a class of about maybe 10 to 15, and there are 3 or 4 special children, then my colleague in the learning support will come in and pick those students into the breakout room without creating any feeling that, they have been separated from the rest, and still manage to engage them in a more productive way than if they stayed with the rest and perhaps got left behind. And so the lessons are moving, And towards the end, my colleague will bring them back and we finish the lesson together. And that is what we have done. And also where one person is stronger, thinking English, SPAG, you're thinking writing and reading. So instead of carrying the whole lesson by myself or the 5 elements, the one who's strong comes in and carries that, if it's SPAG or if it's writing. So that element now of team teaching is enhancing that. It's being enhanced. Number 2, the students have learned that all these are our teachers. They're no longer stuck to, oh, our teacher is so-and-so. Are you teaching us English? It's so-and-so. Or are you teaching us history? It's so-and-so. They know now any teacher can walk into class, and if they've been prepared, given an outline, that teacher will deliver. So that is what has happened.
Okay. Thank you. Janine?
Yes, I agree that I feel the collaboration part where my colleagues can come in and take the part that they are very well developed in, such as a technology portion of posting things onto Google Classroom that are interactive, that keep the students engaged. And we're all learning this. This is all very new to us in our particular school district. When we received the order from our state governor to shelter into place, we were not sure how long that would be for. So at first the school district said, we're gonna close for 2 weeks beyond our spring break. And when we heard the schools had to close, we were right in the middle of our spring break. Then the school district said, okay, we have to move that date out later. We waited on the state officials to give us that information. And then we learned that we would indeed be closed until the end of the year. So where that put our teachers is that my colleagues at my school, we were on it. We were already contacting each other. We were looking who has already set up a Google Classroom, who was not. So we were about 2 weeks ahead of the actual school district from putting out classes and things virtually through technology for professional development. The district themselves offered a lot of professional development even 2 years ago on how to create a Google Classroom and how to do a Zoom lesson online and use the breakout rooms and use all of these tools and technology. There's a million applications, but you have to learn how to use them. It takes time and effort to learn everything. So with that, the district had to think, now we have to get all of this professional development virtually to our teachers. So they had 2 weeks and they did a really good job at getting that information out to us. Thankfully, enough of us had already participated in those professional developments on campus when school was still in. So those colleagues were able to share with those of us who had not taken the training. And I really think that it's changed. From now on, it will never be the same. We will have a lot more virtual opportunities to offer our professionals, our educators within the school district, also the students, and it will be more flexible for our families. So I'm excited to see what happens from here, since we've had to grow through this together.
Okay. What do you think that do you think as from, when school reopens, do you think that it'll be a situation where we'll have a blended process taking place? Instead of going back into the classroom, we'll have a blended learning taking place. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I think so. Actually, when I read a lot of literature now on post-COVID, one of the areas that a lot of education experts are talking about is that school will not be the same again. It will not be like it was. So we are already looking at a blended process even right now, whereby some parents feel even 4 hours of Zoom or screen time is too much for their children, and they've opted for the packs, what we would call the work packs, a day, and they're sent. They prefer to print, and the child can continue doing the work and they submit. Others want the whole caboodle. They'll do the screen and they'll do all the work. Others just want the assignments that have now been set up on the different platforms, whether you're thinking Class Dojo, Edmodo, Education City. So it's truly blended, and parents have found themselves suddenly in that place where they can actually choose what mode of learning do I want for my child, especially for the younger ones. I think the older ones they were very excited about the screen time, and now I can tell you they are looking forward to their summer break.
Yeah. Thank you. Janine?
Definitely. Yes, I will say as well that that the program, when we go back, it's going to change completely. It has to be flexible. Our school district has a task force of general education teachers as well as special education teachers to plan ahead. And the school district I'm in, we are on a modified traditional schedule. So we attend school late July, and then we will go for 9 weeks, which we call a quarter, and then take a 2-week break in October. And then it repeats again, another 9 weeks, and then a 2-week winter break, and so on. And we have that schedule due to the hotter weather here in California. We figured it would be better for families to be indoors out of the sun during those extremely hot months. August and September tend to be really hot here. And the modified schedule has worked out. I enjoy having that anyways. And the flexibility will have to come with offering a program that for parents who would like to continue to teach virtually at home, now that option is available. And then parents who would like their children to be able to go to the campus and have a blended schedule where they can maybe attend half a day and then do the other part at home, they will also have that option. So I like that more options are opening up. One other thing I will speak on from the special education perspective, there are students within our school district, and I'm sure all around the world, who already have an impacted immune system, and they cannot attend school 6 hours a day because of their health needs. They may not be able to be in a building with 800 people. Our elementary school is 800 students and 100 staff members. So we go from kindergarten through 6th grade. And those students in particular, when they've been identified with a special need and have an individualized education plan, they are offered 5 hours a week of home instruction. And because they cannot go to the school, they are only offered that 1 hour a day. Now that we switched to virtual learning, they are able to participate in 6 hours a day of e-learning, virtual learning. So this has brought those students opportunity. However, now the district no longer has to have a separate budget for compensating teachers 5 hours a week additional to their contract time to go work with those students in home instruction at their house. So it has, maybe that money now can be focused more towards supporting teachers' professional development in other areas. That way we're still available to earn the money and the expertise, but also they are able to support our students who are learning at home, and now they have an opportunity to learn even more.
Right. Another question is, in terms of hours, how many hours do you teach your student online? We know the normal hours for us is 6 hours a day, 5-6 hours a day. How many hours, and do you teach your students per day online?
Personally, I am online like 6 hours, but the students, what we do is we give them sessions. Like we have 2 in the morning between 9 to 10:30, they go for a break. 11 to 1, then they go for their lunch. And then 1:30 to 3:30 or to 3, they have another session. And then they have like PE, exercise, and so on, half an hour before the end of the day. Yeah.
Okay, so when they have PE, which means they just leave the class, they just leave the virtual classroom and go off and come back.
No, they do it with the teacher, and the teacher can see.
All right, all right. So you guys do PE with them on the virtual classroom. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
That's
Thank
wonderful.
Yes. It helps to, as it were, bring a close to the day in a way that students are still upbeat and they can look forward to the next day. Yes. For the younger ones, early learning school, it's even less hours, maybe just, and it's not even in terms of hours, it's 30 to 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes max. Okay. And then they're given the assignment and they can continue doing it at home. They are at home anyway. And then after 1 hour, they come back for maybe math, another 20, 30 minutes. In addition to that, what has happened with virtual learning, as Janine was saying, is a lot of creativity has now come to the fore. And unlike before, where I would find a source and just put it in my Z drive, now I want to share it with my colleagues because we are all online anyway. And so the teachers have become very creative, and we've received all this, assistance also, lots and lots of platforms and sites where you can go to and make your lesson as interesting as possible, engaging the students, bringing out their various skills. Presentations now have become so easy even for the children who would normally not speak in class. But you tell them, could you show us a short clip of you making breakfast or tea for your family? And those kids are blooming now. So those are new areas that we are looking at as we see what virtual learning has brought to the fore.
Okay. Thank you, Jenny.
Yes, and I will agree with you that I feel like some of my students, especially when they're at home in their own environment and they feel a little bit more safe to show us their true self, and maybe where academically they would not be able to show a performance task, they can show us at their house something that they're excited about or that they love to do with their family. I had a student showing me how he can jump on his new trampoline that he had in his backyard, and he has a speech impairment. So in class, he may not have been able to express that with words, but on the Zoom lesson, he could just physically get up and take his Chromebook and go show me. And I really loved that. That really brought a lot of joy to my heart to see I could actually understand what he was trying to communicate with me, because he had more than just words or a memory to go off of. He was in the environment and could show that. So I feel like that's differentiated and enhanced his learning 100-fold than what I could accomplish with him in the physical classroom. And I really am eager to be back in the classroom with my students, but at the same time, I'm really enjoying learning this new platform of virtual learning.
How many hours do you teach, Janine, online?
I end up spending at least 6 hours a day between preparation and interacting with students and supporting parents and working with colleagues. My students, however, I have planned for them, we do an hour-long Zoom meeting Monday through Friday. So every day we meet for an hour. Sometimes the classes are only 45 minutes, depending on what I need to cover. And then they also have access to a Google Classroom from the PE teacher, but they have to go into that classroom and click on the activities that are pre-recorded and participate in them and turn them in that fashion. Then I have a daily schedule that I send out to parents. So when they're not on the Zoom class with me, then there are different items that they can choose from to do at home that will cover every subject. So that's how I have it set up right now. And our school district, actually our whole state, decided not to give out grades for the elementary school students. The only students who received grades for the fourth quarter were the high school students who needed those units to go to college or to go on to whatever career field they needed to show those units for. We did not want to hold them back. And no students were held back in elementary or middle school unless it was something pre-existing that the team had already been looking at as far as retaining a student. All students were pushed forward. So we do have challenges that are ahead of us in regards to grading when we come back to school after summer vacation. That way we can hopefully have more students and families involved in the importance. When the work is optional, not everyone is going to participate in it when it's optional. Some of the families and students need that grade in order to understand that it's an obligation. It's something you dedicate to and practice to retain information and learn instead of something being optional.
Thank you. Okay. What tips would you give to any educators in relationship to having team meetings in the virtual classroom, supporting them in the virtual classroom? You know, what would be the tips you would actually give them? Another thing, I've actually had some colleagues, though, they actually set up a WhatsApp group. So they actually communicate through this WhatsApp group in terms of, you know, some of the challenges, etc., etc. So, you know, this is one of the things they've actually formed in order to support each other. So what would you actually, you know, what tips would you give educators who said, oh my goodness, you know, we have to have team meetings, I'm not too sure, you know, how are we going to be supported, etc., etc. What tips would you guys give to them? Jillian, you want to take that first?
Sure. Yeah, sure. So, and, you know, and thank you for asking that. I found that so many people will feel that fear of something new, a new challenge coming. And with the virtual learning I have experienced with my personality in general, I'm very flexible anyways. So if you tell me tomorrow, okay, we're no longer using this curriculum, we're going to use a whole new curriculum, and here you go, crash course training on how to use it, I'm all for it. I may be a little frustrated that I took the time to learn the other curriculum and was, you know, maybe was doing well with it. But when something new comes ahead of me in a challenge, I take it on. So what I find is that I am that motivator to my colleagues that may not feel the same about that. They want to go back to what was, and they continuously just want to stay in that past way of things. I try to motivate them by saying, let's learn something new. You remember when you became a teacher, why did you become a teacher? And use that as your fuel to go on to this new frontier. And I imagine for the educators who are retiring this year, I wonder what they must feel like, because of all of us that are continuing on to the new school year, not really knowing how it's going to play out, it does cause anxiety and it causes concern. I just want to make sure that as an educator, that just as much as I support my students or parents, that I'm also there for my teacher friends as well. We have to stick in this together, just like with everything else.
I totally agree with you there.
We will get through this.
Yes, we will get through it, yes. Especially when we don't have the parents always supporting us. It is important that we support each other.
Yes.
Yes, Anne?
Thank you. I agree with Janine. I think the first thing I would say is the flexibility. You have to be flexible, just like she's saying. I think for us, it was like also, yes, we were ready, but we kind of had to, there are things that we had to throw out of the window and adapt new things. Initially, we were like, oh, but they have worked and we've supported one another, just like she says. Yes, the teachers created the WhatsApp groups, and we also learned that we were now more conscious of, is so-and-so free? Can I call her? Can I reach out to so-and-so? Can we, Zoom together? Something else I have learned, and a tip I would submit to educators, is that assessment for learning now becomes key, as opposed to summative assessment. It's kind of hard to give foolproof supervised exams the way we would give in school. So you're constantly now, again, I've realized that on virtual learning, you give bite size, lessons, well crafted, well organized, very engaging and interactive. Give a short quiz and give the children a worksheet. And when you come back, they will remember, as opposed to what we would do when we were physically there in school. That, I think, is what I would say: flexibility all the way. And then reaching out and helping and supporting. Like you've said, it's not just the teaching person. I'm also a human being. Sitting in front of the screen all day long also has its stresses and its tensions. So it's good to have a colleague who will call and say, how are you? It's good to, go for the meeting and hear my manager or my head say, how are you? How is it going? How is it with you? So perhaps some things that we took for granted, it's important now to factor them into our professional personal interaction when we do go back.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anything else any of you guys want to add?
Thank you so much, Debbie, for having us here today. I am just excited for this opportunity to speak with two phenomenal educators all the way around the world. This has just brought such a smile to my face. And it honestly lets me know that no matter where we are in the world with the type of education systems we each have, that we're all on that same level as far as trying to figure it out and trying to support each other and trying to keep education from crumbling. It is so important to have education and have our community stay together even when we have to stay home. I'm thankful for technology to bring us all together. So I just want to say that. Thank you, Debbie, again.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anne?
Yes, thank you. The same. One thing that comes to mind is the publishing world. I think they really must now relook at their options. It's so exciting to have all those colorful books now online, and the kids now reading from there or just listening. And so I think the publishing world is also in for a new, a new era. They have to rethink how they present their work now. Perhaps paper books will be something for the library. But for the real class, the live class, now we're talking about soft copy books and online books. Yes.
Yes, I totally agree that education now have to shift.
Yes.
Every other industry have already done the shifting except education. So COVID-19 have actually taught us as educators, A, we need to be flexible, B, we need to have a shift, C, we need to actually think on our feet even more so than we used to. Yes. And D is a situation where we also know that we can no longer have the children sitting in the classroom in rows behind the table and the desk, how we usually, how we've had them. When you look at the classroom as it is now, those are times when my grandparents were in school, the same setup of the classroom. So I really think that now the online platforms have actually made us rethink education. And the education ministers and the principals, etc., they really need to reassess what education is. Education is no longer in the classroom. As we've now seen through this, COVID-19, we had no choice. We now have this education online, and I must say it's fantastic.
I agree. I completely agree with you, Debbie.
I agree. Yes.
Because we haven't moved anywhere. Look at our classroom. Around the wall is the same thing. The classroom setup is the same thing. And when you look at when our grandparents was at school, it's the same thing.
Time for change. And Debbie, I want to tell you, that's why I wore my t-shirt that says "Be the Revolution." This t-shirt I received at Ron Clark Academy in Atlanta, Georgia. I went there for a 3-day teacher conference, and it changed my life. And it's the same concept that we've been doing it the same for how long now, and now is our time for change. And check out Ron Clark Academy if you haven't heard of it. It's an amazing school, amazing set of educators. I really learn a lot from them, and I follow them virtually, which has been wonderful. So
Right.
I completely agree with you that now is the time for this change.
Yeah.
We are forefronting it. We're able to help create it. So I feel so excited to be a part of this.
Yeah, yeah. You know,
Yes.
we have to be the change makers, you know, the thought leaders. That's the job we do. We are thought leaders.
Yes.
So we now have to not only be thought leaders, practically put it in place.
That is what
And, you know, the virtual classroom is actually forcing us to really practically put the thought leader process to the, you know, to the challenge. And that's what's happening. Thank you very, very much, Facebook. And tomorrow we'll be having, tomorrow's session is student excelling online, because I've seen a lot of students actually are excelling online, even more so than when they were in the classroom. So tomorrow we'll be discussing that. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.